Welcome to Demystifying Divinity with Joanna and Jenny.
Hi, my name is Joanna. I channel messages from Spirit in order to help people remember who they are so they can embody their power.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I use intuitive astrology to help people remember their blueprints and soul contracts. And together, we're demystifying divinity, one conversation at a time. Hello and welcome back, and welcome to newbies to Demystifying Divinity with Joanna and Jenny. Joanna, how the heck are you doing today?
Oh, excuse me. I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Yes, I'm wonderful as well. We are well into our podcast now, many episodes now. Loving it, getting great feedback. It's super exciting. Would you agree?
Totally. Every time we're about to do it, I get to feel like a little kid in a candy store.
I know, I feel the same way. I get so excited. And the way that we're doing it is I come up with a topic and I keep it a secret. And then I put Joanna on the spot, and then she does the same for me, and it seems to be working well. So hopefully you're liking our impromptu answers and our conversations. And the whole point of this podcast is to demystify divinity, one conversation at a time, talking about all the woo-woo, but making it less woo. Is that a great description or what?
Perfect to me. We're totally not prepared for this, but yet we're prepared.
Unprepared. No, I am prepared because I wrote all the things down. I've got the notes, and now I'm putting Joanna on the spot. So here we go.
Let's do it.
Eclipse season is coming. Eclipse season is coming. So you've got that vision in your mind, right? Like Michael Scott from The Office, and he's like running around back and forth, back and forth. Oh my God, eclipse season is coming. So you've got that vision. You know what I'm saying? You got my number? Okay. That's how it can feel. So let's talk about these eclipses. And I want to give you a bit of a survival guide, if you will, of what to do and what not to do during eclipse. You can take it as advice. You can take it or leave it. You can say she's full of it. But I'm just going to give some advice. I'm going to give a rundown of these eclipses, the ones in March. The ones in September we'll talk about later on the podcast, okay?
So you know what's really funny?
Hey.
This is tying into the surprise I have for you for our next podcast.
That always happens to us.
Yeah, it totally aligns.
It always
and
happens.
all I'm going to say is that anything you give today is going to be very useful for the next conversation we're going to have for our listeners.
So it always works that way. It is exciting. And I love eclipse season, so let's bring it, okay?
So for the viewer,
yes,
because you're a guru, you're an astrologist. Well, it's your shtick. But for those of us who don't really have understanding of astrology, what would you say would be a simple way of describing what an eclipse season does or is all about?
Takes in, takes out.
Clean up, maybe?
Clean up on aisle 7. Okay.
Yeah, the milk has spilled. We got to clean. We can't put the milk back in the bottle.
Oh, please don't put the milk. And that's part of my advice. Don't put the milk back in when it's on the south node. Anywho, I digress. I'm jumping ahead, but thank you for that question. It's setting us up perfectly. Okay, so you obviously have my moon journal because this guides you through all the moons. Okay, so what you do is you go to March and you see that March has 2 eclipses.
By the way, for those of us who are just listening on Spotify, the video version is available on our YouTube channel, so you can actually see what Jenny is showing you. Just FYI, it occurred to me.
Little FYI. You can envision it in your head if you're listening, and I will be as clear can be, I hope. And I'm not going to get too astrology-y with all the language, but I do want to point something out. Okay, so you go to my moon journal that's available on Amazon now, link provided, bio. So then you see that the first eclipse of March is March 13, and it's a full moon. And all of the full moon so all of the lunar eclipses of 2025 are total eclipses, whereas all the new moon solar eclipses are partial. So total means more energy.
Amplified.
Total is magnified. Total means it's closer to the nodes. It's within 10 degrees of the nodes, the moon, okay? And then all of the new moons of 2025, all of the new moon eclipses of 2025 are partial, so not quite as close to the nodes. Still powerful, still a new moon on steroids, but these full moons are going to be on steroids. So does that, like, just putting that out there right now, because we all know about full moon energy. The hospitals are full, lunatics, right? Like you see it at every full moon. So all of the eclipses on the full moon in 2025 are close to the nodes, meaning destiny points, meaning magnified. Okay, so we're looking again, we're going back to our book, and we're seeing that on March 13, there's a total lunar eclipse at 23-degree Virgo, okay? So that's a full moon on steroids, and it's in Virgo. Virgo is on the south node, okay? So the south node is all the stuff we're letting go. It's all the karma. It's the collective karma. So as a people living on the planet right now in 2025, we have collected karma together, all of us humans, like it or not, okay? And so the nodes are always guiding us onto different timelines. Okay, that's the other key word of an eclipse is timeline. It's a timeline shift. Okay, and so if it's on Virgo, if the eclipse is on Virgo, that means it's on the south node, meaning this is what we let go. So for example, if you get dumped by your boyfriend on a Virgo eclipse, you walk away, you run away from that relationship because it's on the south node, because it's been there, done that energy. Okay?
In other words, the universe is doing you a favor.
The universe is getting you on a timeline. And this is what I always say about eclipses. Now I've put my book down and I've put my hands up. Now things are getting serious. Okay? This is what I always say about eclipses. If the boyfriend dumps you on the south node, I can almost guarantee that there were signals from the universe prior to the dumping. You knew, and you just kept holding on. And you kept telling all your best friends, and oh, he means well, this or that, whatever. You're telling yourself all these stories. Believe me, I have been there, done that, so I am not pointing any fingers, okay? But then, boom, he dumps you on the south node eclipse, okay? So it's a jolt. It feels like a very abrupt end, but you knew it.
It's
okay?
not a surprise. It's not a surprise. Yeah.
You knew it, okay? And for those of you that are saying, no, I didn't know it. Okay, fine, you didn't know it, but the universe was trying to knock on your head and say, just walk away from it. So you get on a new timeline, and the timeline can be a jolt. This is for everybody. You're getting on a new timeline at the eclipses. The timeline can be jolting, and it can be like, oh my God, I put my back out. Or it can be like, holy smokes, wasn't expecting that. Okay. So the surrendering of the timeline is what it's all about. Do you agree or not? Because I know, Joanna, you're not an astrologer person. You're not into astrology. You find it interesting. You don't study it, and you just receive this information from your guides. You just can read the energy. So you're feeling it? You're feeling what I'm saying?
Totally. And as you're saying it, actually, I'm seeing an image, which is helpful for those who are listening. I'm seeing an image of a train. And at a certain point, trains split in two.
Yes.
So the train is going, and all of a sudden it changes its tracks because it changes direction.
Yes.
And it has to go one way or the other. It can't go straight or it's going to crash.
Exactly it.
So what I'm getting is
exactly
move and or change of direction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So March 13, it's a full moon.
Coming up.
A total lunar eclipse. It's in Virgo, so it's on the south node. So now you're all worried. Oh my God, my boyfriend's going to dump me. No.
No.
So that was just an example.
A drastic one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so something's going to change, and it's going to be tangible in your reality. It will be a manifestation because it's a full moon. At full moons, we get a manifestation. It becomes something tangibly. Okay.
That's what I wrote down.
Joanna's pointing.
I wrote that down.
Okay. Is that what you wrote?
I wrote powerful manifestation period.
Okay. Thank you, Joanna. So see, we're on each other's page, even though, she didn't know what I was saying. So again, The March 13 lunar eclipse, it's a full moon on steroids, something tangibly is going to timeline shift for you. You will be getting on a new timeline and it's going to show up in your physical reality. That's a general rule of thumb for when it comes to that kind of eclipse. That is a full moon lunar eclipse. Okay. Then you go forward. And then March 29, we have a solar eclipse, partial. So it's not as close to the node. It's in Aries. Okay. So this is the final one. So you might be going, wait a second, aren't the nodes in Pisces and Virgo? Well, aren't you sharp? Yes, it is. So they were just in Aries and Libra. So this is the final one. This is the final one of all those 18 months ago lessons. This is the final. Thinking it's over now, right? And so because we did all that work with the nodes in Aries and Libra, which were all about me, we, relationship stuff, and owning, our power. That's what Aries and Libra was teaching us those last 18 months. So we have the final one in Aries, and it's a new moon. Okay, so something new shows up. Okay, it's a new beginning. And with a solar eclipse, so again, it's a new moon, we often feel like it's an internal shift. So like a mindset shift. Now, it doesn't mean you can't physically get something as well. Okay, wherever the timeline takes you, you might physically get something as well with an eclipse. Eclipses are like no rules, right? But usually when it's a new moon solar eclipse, it's a completely different inner shift. And it's almost like you've forgiven, you finally let it go. Like it's something like that you might not think is that big of a deal, but it actually changes your whole life, right?
It does.
And so that's what these eclipses are. And I will give you just some quick guidelines with eclipses before I let Joanna, because I know Joanna's like dying to talk. Okay, she's just dying to tell us all what the guides are saying. But I just will give you a couple of quick rules. Okay, number one, the ancients taught us don't look at it. I know it's controversial. The ancients taught us it's shady energy. Don't look at it. Because you can find the exact time of the eclipse and you can look up, and I urge you strongly, and I do have some evidence of people that have looked, and the one that just happened in Texas last April, people got sick, and I hate to put it out there, but all the people we were watching online and look, it's dark in the middle of the day and they're looking straight at it, and someone famous put that on his Instagram. He's sick now. He has cancer. So I'm not saying you're going to get cancer. I'm just saying it's shady, and the ancients taught us, and I will urge Joanna to ask her guides about that as well. Okay, that's number one tip about eclipses. Number two clip is, and I put this in my moon journal here because I teach you how to manifest with the moon. You don't at an eclipse. You don't write intentions. You don't say, oh, I want this and this. No. What you do is you sit back and you go, okay, I'm watching what's coming and what's going, and I'm surrendering to it. And if something tangible does come in and it's like, wow, this is a new timeline that I was not expecting. And this could be something special. Okay, leave it at that. Don't be like starting to, okay, so this thing came in and now I'm going to start intent. No. You embrace it and you surrender to the new energy and you feel into it. You do not write intentions at the time of any eclipse.
Okay. So here is, as you're talking, because remember I said that during full moon, well, it was for full moon, but I wrote about powerful manifestation. And as you're talking, what I'm getting is that the timeline that you gave of 18 months was preparing us for what's to come right now. So it's almost like it's the final push. And the universe is going, okay, so you've planted the seeds. This is what you've been wishing for. Now here's an opportunity to actually live it out. So one of the metaphors examples that came was, let's say you are in a job that you just can't stand. And you've been wishing and praying and nothing is happening. And all of a sudden you get a call to your boss's office and you're like, what's going to happen? You're tanked. You're fired, your job is no longer whatever. But that's the universe's way of saying, okay, you ready for a new start? In order for you to have a new start, this has to end. So some of you may actually be experiencing things like this, where something abruptly comes to an end, only to give you an opportunity to open new doors, because we tend to cling onto things, even though they're sometimes not really good. And I actually this is like perfect example of someone I know is going through it right now. It's hitting her in the face, though it's not hitting her in the face because she's known it, but she admitted to herself that she wasn't really willing to look at it. And now it just has to happen. And it's unpleasant, but there is just no other way. So something that has been in the works, but has been kind of sort of pushed to the side. Now the universe is saying, look, you can no longer ignore it. So we're going to help you by creating a situation where you're like, okay, these are your options now. What are you going to choose? Right?
Perfect example. And it's really like, we should be thankful. And it's like, you're thinking to yourself, okay, thanks a lot. I needed that job, No, but really, like, thank you, because I just didn't have the courage to say goodbye, to do the thing, to make the decision. And the universe is like, no, I know you didn't. And I gave you so many little hints and whispers to do the thing and make the decision, and you didn't. So that's what eclipses do. And we get them every year, and they can be extremely jarring. On the other hand, they can be absolutely spectacular. So when it's on the North Node, people come into your life, things come in. Whatever comes in at the North Node, so the one at the end of March, that's on the North Node. If something happens and something comes in, like, that's even if it seems like, no, I don't think so. It's like, yeah, I think so.
Be ready for surprises is what I heard.
Yes.
Be ready for some positive surprises.
Yes.
Yeah. And for those of you who, let's say, are going to go through, you lose your job or some other thing, I'm being asked to say this very affirmatively, okay? This is not a punishment. This is just a slight push. Sometimes we need a push. I certainly have needed a push, because otherwise I wouldn't have done it myself. So the universe nudged me slightly harder in order to in fact, without the universe nudging me by giving me an uncomfortable push, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now at this particular time. I just wouldn't be doing it, because I was not brave enough to let go of what I knew was no longer serving me. So the universe said, oh yeah, you asked us for help? Okay, we're going to help you. But what does happen, which again ties into the next topic we're going to have, it brought up all my shady stuff. It all brought up all my insecurities. It brought up all my fears. And the universe clearly said to me, literally, I heard it in my mind. The voice said, well, you can choose to live in fear, or you can choose to let it go. You choose. But in order for me to choose to let go of fear, I had to face it. I had to face what was uncomfortable for me to choose. So it doesn't mean anything bad is going to happen. Like Jenny is saying, this could be and probably will be a wonderful opportunity to start fresh and new. But anytime that before there is a birth, there is a death, and that's metaphorical. So something has to die in order to make space and room for something new, something much more expanded. So for those of you or us who have been feeling like you're kind of not on your path, it's just like you're stagnating, but there is something else that you'd like to do, the universe is going to give you a nudge. And it's going to say, okay, here's an opportunity for you. What do you want to do? And remember how you said at the very beginning, don't go back, because there's a tendency to cling on to things. That's just what we humans do. There's nothing wrong with it. But when we cling to things that limit our expression, then we continue to express ourselves in limited ways. And we're not here to do that, right? We're here to experience that which we are, which is virtually our unlimitedness within the constraints of a physical body. Incidentally, the book we talked about at the very second episode, I think, Neil Walsh, when he channels God, this is literally what God says. You are here to experience that which you truly are, right? Beautiful. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else coming in. Okay, they're showing me an analogy. Not quite sure where it's going to go, but they're showing me an analogy. Imagine a flower growing in a garden. And let's use an example of a sunflower. So you get the seeds, seeds, tasty seeds. And so you've planted a seed. The flower is starting to grow. The sunflower is not quite ready yet to yield the seeds because it still needs time to yield the seeds. But halfway in between, you decide to stop watering the plant. What's going to happen to the plant? It's going to die. It's not going to give you the seeds, which is what you wanted. So what's the metaphor? Sometimes when we wish for something or when we want to experience something, it seems like it's a never-ending struggle. It sometimes feels like it's never going to happen. Here's what I want to say. Be mindful of your expectations. In other words, expect the best. And when I was saying that the universe is giving us like this final push, all I'm going to say is the wait is worth it. So many of you who are listening to this, perhaps you've been waiting for something. Perhaps you've been working on yourself for the last 18 months. And here's how I'm going to say it. It is impossible for you to do inner work and not have it manifested in your outside world. It's virtually impossible. So if you have been making shifts in your internal world, it has to always be reflected in your external world. This is just law, one of the laws. What's within, so without. So if you've been planting seeds, if you've been doing what you've been doing and you've been praying for, you wanting to do something you're passionate about, but your job has been preventing you, the universe heard you loud and clear, and now it's giving you the opportunity to do exactly that. Again, this is exactly what happened with me.
Yes, I have a very powerful eclipse story. I met my husband on an eclipse. So he came in on a North Node eclipse, right? So what can come in can be absolutely life-changing, beautiful, right? I mean, you don't know it at the time, right? You're like, what? I'm going to marry this man? No, I wasn't thinking that, right? But it was a shock. It was shocking, I remember. When I met him, and the eyes were like, what? What's happening here? I remember it was a jolting experience. And it takes time to regulate your nervous system with eclipse energy. So just keep that in mind. Drink lots of water. Don't dysregulate. Yes. And I will say the other thing before we say goodbye. So we're recording this right at the time of the Pisces new moon. And so you'll be listening to this later. But I know that you are already writing intentions on a normal new moon, right? Because I've been advising you that in this book as well as on this podcast. At any normal new moon, what you do is you plant seeds of intentions, right? So guess what? In 6 months' time, at the full moon, it will be an eclipse in Pisces, okay? So the intentions that you're setting, and I know that you all set them because you've been listening to us, the intentions that you're setting at this particular new moon in Pisces will be absolutely shocking revelations, manifestations that are miraculous. And that this new moon energy in Pisces is so dreamy, dream big. Just like you said, Joanna, it's bigger than big, right? So, I mean, keep that vibe all year long because the North Node is in Pisces, encouraging all of us to dream bigger, follow those daydreams, listen to your dreams at night because Pisces rules the dream state, whether you're or asleep, right? And keep the dreams big. Don't go small this year. Do not go small.
So here's what they want me to ask you, Jenny, to share with us. What happens to those who are resisting this change? What's going to happen to those people?
Yeah, well, it'll probably come back the next eclipse season, and it'll be even
harder
because we have free will. We have every right to say no to that thing or go back to that guy that treats us like garbage, and we have every right. We have every right to not go on the timeline that the eclipse is urging us to do so. And and if you do that, no judgment, right?
None.
This eclipse season, it might be even more jolting. And then the next one, if you still don't jump on the timeline, it could be things like, that we don't even want to entertain, the diagnosis that you never would have imagined. And I'm not saying
we're not
like get a terrible diagnosis, it's their fault.
No.
I'm not saying that, but it's stuff like that it's like it could be life-changing if you continue to refuse to get on the timeline of the eclipses.
So I have a very timely example of that. I'm not going to go into too much details because it's personal, but I know someone who is very close in my life who has not done any inner work. It's just a generation who was not into that sort of thing. And the other day, this person found themselves in a hospital and it produced quite a scare.
Yes.
And I firmly believe, and I had it checked with my own personal healer. And by the way, 111. So that's a confirmation. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Wow.
I love when they do that. Because earlier when I was getting a drink before we came to do this podcast, I clearly, distinctly felt that this is a warning for this person. In other words, if you continue doing what you're doing, you're going to have some massive problems. And sometimes, they said, sometimes in order to make a radical and drastic change, it requires us to be scared. So this person is now, I haven't talked to this person yet. I haven't shared my 2 cents yet. I have to be very gentle about it. But this situation came up and it scared this person, and it has to do with the heart, and everything is fine for now, but it's a clear indication that drastic changes have to be made. They have to be made.
I hear you.
Now, the drastic change that my guides are telling me about for this person is actually quite simple. Not easy, but simple. And the change for that person is quieting their mind, so they can actually, learn to listen to what's going on inside of them, which means learning to tap into what their body is saying, but also to be more in tune with their feelings and emotions and not putting blame on everything or everyone else, and taking responsibility for one's own inner world. And when we are very much in a space, in our head space, when the mind is very busy, we don't often have access to this deeper knowing, this inner knowing. It's not that we don't have access, we're just too busy with our head. So the quieting the mind for this particular person is the recipe or the prescription to make sure that these episodes with the heart don't keep on happening, right? So there's I can very clearly see there's an opportunity for tremendous growth, but at the end of the day, the person has to be willing to, to have a different perspective about what's going on, or to choose and say, no, this is happening to me, which is like, okay, well, here's your warning, just FYI. And by the way, I'm not saying that quieting your mind is going to take all your problems away, but I will tell you one thing for sure. Quieting your mind is going to help you manage your problems a lot differently and a lot easier. Right? So that's a live example I have with this person right now as we're speaking on February 25th. I haven't had a talk with that person yet. And I have to be very gentle on how I present it. But I know the person got scared. And I actually think that's a good thing, because sometimes that's what's required in order to make a major change.
And this new moon that we're recording in is like, it's very eclipsy because it's in Pisces, but it's so far away from the North Node. So this is activating the eclipse season. It really is.
Yeah.
We're already feeling it. We're already getting the hints. We're already feeling the vibes. So that makes perfect sense.
And by the way, I don't want anyone misunderstanding it as I'm saying that you should be scared or you're going to be scared. No, it doesn't mean that at all. It just means that sometimes when we're not listening,
yes,
for long periods of time, it's the proverbial, the universe gives you a nudge, and then the universe gives you a little bit of a push, and then the universe gives you a harder of a push, and you're still not listening, and the universe is like, okay, you need a 4x4 over your head in order to really listen. And so to my original question, what happens to people who refuse to, go with the flow or make changes? The universe is probably going to get louder, and I believe everybody inside of themselves really knows what's going on when they really allow themselves to listen. To your point, if someone dumps you, and that's just a drastic example, we're just using that as an example. If someone, quote unquote, dumps you, then chances are that there was some things that were just not quite making sense, but for whatever reason, we choose to ignore it. We choose to delay it. We choose to, like my other friend, to say to ourselves, I just, maybe it's going to be okay. Well, here's the thing. Nothing fixes itself because nothing happens by itself, right? So it's a drastic opportunity to, I want to say, take more charge of our life by becoming more reacquainted with ourselves. And when the mind is very busy, that's very hard to do. So I am saying that if you want your life to improve, and I can guarantee you that anybody will, who has practiced mindfulness or mind calming exercises, it will absolutely improve your life. In one of the basics way, it's going to help you feel better, right? When you feel,
Yes.
I'm sure everyone has been in love before. I know certainly what it's like to be in love. When you're in love, it's almost like you don't give a shit about anything. Everything is fine. You're in just that vibe energy. You can do anything, right? So the higher we vibrate, the more we feel we are capable. It's just we're more in our nurturing, healing energy. But that's for another podcast. So yeah, just to your point, I know real life examples that are depicting exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. So I say yay to opportunities. Yay.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And wishing you all a blessed eclipse season. It's a wonderful time to get your astrology chart read, especially if you have the nodes in Pisces and Virgo, because big things are going to happen. So, Joanna, I got news for you.
What?
These eclipses are going to hit you because
Oh,
I got news for you because this is Pisces Virgo energy, and that is
that's
exactly
mine.
your node. It's exciting.
Oh dear. Should I be worried?
Excited for you. It's going to be life changing.
Well, I've been feeling
We'll
that
check in
for a while. Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah. All
We'll have a
right.
brief.
Well, thank you for that. I think that's all we have for today. Until the next one. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. These podcasts are also available on our individual YouTube channels. So my channel is Joanna the Healer. What's your channel, darling?
It's Jenny's Next Chapter. You can find me on Instagram as well with that handle.
So you can see the journals that that Jenny is showing and the journal that we have made together, which there is a link underneath if you like. It's sold on Amazon. Yeah, we're super
Isn't it
excited about that.
exciting? It's so beautiful. You can get this. If you can't come to our workshop, you can get this journal on Amazon as well.
So with that said, we look forward to hearing and seeing you again next time. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And please share this fab convo with someone who you love.